Horror movie fans have likely encountered the phrase based on a true story in the opening credits of a film more than once. However, Hollywood is known for embellishing real events to enhance the scare factor. So how accurate are these adaptations? To uncover the truth behind these chilling tales, here are the top 10 horror movies inspired by real-life stories that prove reality can be even more terrifying than fiction. Number 1, Poltergeist, 1982-2015, inspired by the eerie events that unfolded in James Herman's home in Seaford, New York in 1958. This chilling tale captivated the public and baffled investigators. Newspapers across the state detailed bizarre occurrences within the Herman household: screw top, bottle lids inexplicably popping off, porcelain figurines shattering, and dressers toppling over without cause. Theories ranged from leprechauns and psychic abilities to scientific explanations involving energy and subterranean streams. However, the most widely accepted theory was poltergeist activity. According to the Daily News in New York, the Herman family received over 300 letters from concerned readers, many offering advice on how to banish the spirit. The case fascinated the public, so much that updates occasionally made front-page news. Despite thorough investigations by both police and parapsychologists, no definitive explanation was ever found. After more than 5 weeks of unexplained disturbances, the strange occurrences suddenly stopped, leaving behind a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. Number 2, Jaws, 1975, believed to be inspired by the real-life events of a series of deadly shark attacks along the New Jersey coast in 1916. This terrifying story remains one of the most infamous cases of its kind. Over the span of 2 weeks, 3 fatal shark attacks occurred within a 100-mile radius, culminating in a final attack that left 2 people dead and 1 injured. The victims included 12-year-old Lester Stillwell, 25-year-old Stanley Fisher, 23-year-old Charles Edding Van Sant, 17-year-old Charles Bruder, and 14-year-old Joseph Dunn, the sole survivor. Authorities urged swimmers to stay out of deep waters until the so-called man-eating sharks were eliminated. In response, the mayor offered a $100 reward for killing the predator, and even the U.S. Coast Guard joined the hunt. Widespread panic swept across New Jersey and New York, triggering a mass slaughter of sharks. Fear reached such extremes that a man drowned near the shore. After cries for help were ignored, bystanders assumed he was being attacked by a shark and refused to intervene. Desperate citizens captured and cut open sharks in search of human remains. Yet whether the true culprit was ever found remains a mystery. Number 3, The Exorcist, 1973. This story is based on the harrowing true account of a 14-year-old boy from Maryland who was allegedly possessed by the devil in 1949 and underwent an exorcism performed by a Catholic priest. Initially, skeptical religious leaders and neighbors invited the boy to stay with them, only to witness strange occurrences like furniture tipping over and the boy's bed moving on its own while he slept. After seeking medical and psychiatric help with no success, the boy's family turned to the Catholic Church for assistance. A dedicated Catholic priest took it upon himself to perform the exorcism. Living in the same house as the boy for over 2 months, the priest attempted the exorcism more than 20 times, during which the boy displayed extreme reactions, including screaming, cursing, and speaking in Latin. Ultimately, the final exorcism was successful, and the boy was freed from the supposed possession, with all supernatural occurrences ceasing immediately afterward. Number 4, Psycho, 1960, and Silence of the Lambs, 1991. Both Psycho and The Silence of the Lambs are among the many films inspired by the chilling true story of Ed Gein, a murderer and grave robber whose gruesome crimes shocked the nation. Gein was responsible for the deaths of 2 women and was found to have remains from at least 14 cadavers in his home, bodies he had stolen from the local graveyard. Gein claimed to have been in a trance-like state when committing his crimes, but the horrific nature of his actions told a different story. His first discovered victim was found decapitated, hanging upside down by the heels, and severely mutilated. Investigators even discovered a human heart in a pot on the stove, leading to speculation about possible cannibalism. Among the macabre items in his home were 10 skinned and preserved human heads, which he had turned into masks. Other disturbing discoveries included a vest, chair upholstery, and belts, all made from human skin. Gein's obsession with grave robbing and creating clothing from human flesh was said to stem from his desire to become a woman. When his crimes were exposed in 1957, most of his neighbors were shocked, as few had suspected him capable of such. Horrors. Number 5, the Amityville Horror, 1979-2005. This terrifying tale is based on the true events experienced by the Lutz family after moving into a Long Island home where a gruesome mass murder had taken place just a year prior. The house had been the site of a horrific crime committed by Ronald DeFeo Jr., who on November 13, 1974, at around 3 a.m., shot and killed his parents, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters as they slept. 1975, and sentenced to life in prison. Just a month after DeFeo's conviction, George and Kathy Lutz purchased the infamous home, moving in with their 3 children and their dog. However, only 28 days later, they fled the property in terror, leaving behind most of their belongings and never returning, driven away by disturbing paranormal occurrences. What began as an unsettling atmosphere that fueled aggression among family members quickly escalated into horrifying supernatural experiences. Their young daughter described an eerie imaginary friend, a red-eyed pig. The home was plagued by foul odors and freezing temperatures, while mysterious red welts appeared on Kathy's body, too hot to touch. Doors and windows opened by themselves. Loud noises echoed through the house at 3:15 a.m., the same time the DeFeo murders occurred. And at one point, Kathy levitated from her bed, her face transforming into that of an old woman. Following the Lutz family's sudden departure, Ronald DeFeo's lawyer began researching the home's history, questioning whether demonic possession had played a role in DeFeo's crimes. His investigation revealed that the house was built on an ancient Native American burial ground, and that a man cast out of Salem for practicing witchcraft had once lived on the property. The chilling events at this home would go on to inspire one of the most famous haunted house stories of all time. Number 6, The Conjuring 2, 2016, The Chilling Case of the Enfield Poltergeist in North London. 1977 remains one of the most infamous paranormal investigations linked to renowned ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren. Widely publicized, this haunting gripped the attention of readers across London and beyond. The disturbances began in the home of Peggy Hodgson with unexplained noises, but soon escalated to objects such as marbles and Legos being hurled through the air and furniture moving on its own. According to The Observer, the poltergeist seemed to have a particular fixation on Hodgson's young daughter, Janet. Eyewitness accounts fueled the intrigue, including reports from Daily Mirror photographer Graham Morris and police constable Carolyn Heaps, both of whom claimed to have witnessed unexplained supernatural activity firsthand. The eerie events continued for 18 months, finally coming to an end in 1979, but the case remains one of the most debated hauntings in paranormal history. Number 7, A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, 2010, inspired by the unexplained deaths of nearly 80 Laotian refugees who mysteriously passed away in their sleep during the 1980s. Following the Cambodian killing fields, many Southeast Asian refugees fled to America in the late 1970s and early 1980s. In 1981, the CDC documented 38 cases of what became known as nightmare death syndrome, a condition that claimed the lives of seemingly healthy Laotian men in their sleep. By 1983, the number had risen to 79, yet the cause remained a mystery. Some believed these men were literally dying, a fright, their nightmares, so terrifying that they proved fatal. Others speculated that the deaths were delayed effects of exposure to toxic chemicals from the killing fields. While some medical experts suspected undiagnosed heart conditions, to this day, the true cause of these eerie and tragic deaths remains unknown. Number 8, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, 2005. Inspired by the tragic case of Annalisa Michel, a young woman who underwent exorcisms for alleged demonic possession and ultimately died of starvation in 1976. Though the events took place in West Germany, Annalisa Michel's story made headlines worldwide. According to her parents and the 2 priests who performed the exorcisms, she was possessed by 6 demons, including Hitler, Nero, Judas, and Lucifer. Over the course of several months, she endured intense exorcism rituals, refusing to eat until she eventually succumbed to dehydration and starvation, weighing just 70 pounds at the time of her death. Medical professionals noted that Michelle had a history of epilepsy and believed she could have been saved had she received medical treatment in the final weeks of her life. As a result, both priests and her parents were charged with negligent homicide, making her case one of the most controversial exorcism-related deaths in history. Number 9, When a Stranger Calls, 1979-2006. Inspired by the chilling, unsolved murder of Jeanette Chrisman, a young babysitter who was brutally killed while on duty in 1950, Mr. and Mrs. Romack returned home to a horrifying scene. 17-year-old Jeanette had been assaulted and strangled with an iron cord after putting up a desperate fight. Just 2.5 hours before the Romacks' arrival, police received a frantic phone call from a girl pleading, "Come quick," before the call was abruptly cut off. Unfortunately, the call was untraceable, leaving authorities without a location to respond to. Inside the home, the Romacks' 3-year-old son was found unharmed, still asleep in his room. Investigators discovered footprints, fingerprints, and possible blood, and hair samples belonging to the assailant. Yet despite these clues, the identity of Jeanette's killer was never uncovered, leaving the case shrouded in mystery. Number 10, The Haunting in Connecticut, 2009. Although not widely reported across the U.S., the Hartford Courant documented the eerie experiences of the Snedeker family. After moving into their new home, previously a funeral home, the family claimed to have encountered a demonic presence that physically touched and spoke to them, along with unexplained sights, sounds, and smells. As the paranormal disturbances intensified, the Snedekers sought the help of renowned investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who arranged for an exorcism to be performed. However, before it could take place, the family fled the house. Later, with the assistance of the Warrens and horror writer Ray Garton, the Snedekers recounted their experiences in a book. Despite their claims, neighbors and former homeowners remained skeptical, suggesting the story was fabricated for financial gain. You've made it this far, which means you're just as intrigued as we are. But this is only the beginning. There's so much more to uncover, more mysteries to unravel, and more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't just be a visitor, be part of the journey. Hit that subscribe button and step into a world where the unexplained becomes reality. Welcome to the